They say every city has a night it never forgets. For my hometown, that night was Halloween, 1978. It was the night the power grid failed. Every clock in town froze solid at midnight, and my grandfather, Nico Romano, vanished without a trace for 7 hours. My name is Matteo Romano, and I'm a storyteller. It's what I do for a living. But this story, this one found me. It spoke to me literally through a cassette tape that, by all rights, should have been silent forever. It all started after my grandfather's funeral. My mother, her eyes still heavy with grief, handed me a dusty, forgotten cardboard box from the attic. "He wanted you to have this," she said. Inside was a time capsule of his life. Old, yellow notebooks filled with his elegant script, faded photographs of people I barely recognized, a broken harmonica, and tucked in the corner, a clunky old tape recorder. There was only one cassette inside. Scrawled across the label in his familiar, shaky handwriting were 5 words that sent a shiver down my spine. Halloween 1978, do not play. Now, you know there are 2 kinds of people in this world. There are those who see a warning sign and turn back, and there are those who see it as an invitation. I've always been the second kind. I took the recorder home, poured myself a drink, and pressed play. At first, there was nothing but the soft hiss of white noise, the sound of empty time. But then, cutting through the static, a voice emerged. It was his voice, but younger, laced with an anxiety I'd never heard before. "It's me, Nico," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "If you can hear this, if anyone can hear this, then it wasn't just a dream. The night is still happening somewhere." I could hear the environment around him. Footsteps crunching on dry leaves, a low wind whistling through unseen trees, the unsteady rhythm of his own breathing. "The lights are out," he continued. "All of them. Every clock I've passed is frozen at midnight. The air. It feels thick, like you could cut it with a knife." And then another sound. A voice, faint and ethereal, calling his name from a great distance. It sounded like a young girl. After that, the tape went silent. Just the hiss again. My logical mind scrambled for an explanation. It was grief playing tricks on me, my imagination running wild. Maybe it was an old radio drama he'd recorded. I tried to dismiss it, to put the box and its strange contents out of my mind. But I couldn't. The next night, I found myself sitting in the dark again, the recorder in my hands. I had to know what came next. I pressed play. The tape picked up where it left off. My grandfather's voice, a nervous whisper. Maybe it's just a prank. Some kid's messing around. Or maybe the power company's having a really, really bad night. Then, a sharp, metallic scrape, like a knife being drawn across stone. And a new voice replied, clear and close. "Don't." My grandfather gasped. "Who are you? Who's there?" The voice answered, and the world tilted on its axis. "Matteo." My heart stopped. Cold dread washed over me. That was my name. I snatched the recorder, my hands shaking, and rewound the tape. Once, twice, 3 times. Each time, the result was the same. My voice answering him from 40 years in the past. "Matteo," the voice on the tape said again, as if it knew I was listening right then. "If you can hear me, answer." The record button wasn't pressed. The machine was only in playback mode. It was impossible. But on pure instinct, I leaned in and whispered, my voice barely audible, "I can hear you." Instantly, the voice on the tape replied, "I knew you would. How? How do you sound like me?" I stammered, my mind reeling. "Because I'm what's left when the night ends," it said, its tone flat and hollow. "Your grandfather made a bargain, Matteo. And bargains don't die with the people who make them. I was frozen, unable to move or speak. The voice on the tape then addressed Nico directly. There are 2 midnights tonight. One you can see and one you can't. If you walk into the second one, you won't come back as yourself. I could hear Nico's panicked breathing. How do you know that? He asked. Because I walked, the voice said. The tape clicked and the recording changed. The hiss was different now, deeper. Then a new voice spoke, a boy's voice, hesitant and scared. My name's Paulo. You left this recorder in my room. It doesn't help me sleep. I keep hearing my name in the static. I dream of a bridge made of sound. Paulo. That was my uncle. He died when he was 17, just a year after the blackout. My mother never liked to talk about it. The tape hissed, as if it were taking a breath. And then a third voice. Mine again, but different, stronger. Matteo, it said, directly to me. There are 2 midnights tonight. You can end the loop, but not without a price. What price? I whispered to the machine. If you go, the voice replied, you might never be born. I sat there in the dark, shaking. Every rational part of my brain was screaming at me to destroy the tape, to throw the recorder in the river and forget this ever happened. But curiosity, it's a powerful, dangerous thing. It's often stronger than fear. I had to know. I grabbed the recorder and my jacket and walked out into the night. I went to the old iron bridge on the edge of town, the same one my mother said Nico always avoided. The streets were deserted, silent. The air was heavy and still, just as he described. As my watch ticked toward midnight, I took a deep breath, held up the recorder, and pressed the record button. My name is Matteo Romano, I said into the microphone, my voice steady despite the hammering in my chest. I remember you. As the last stroke of midnight faded, the wind suddenly picked up, howling across the bridge. The hiss from the recorder deepened into a low, rhythmic hum. It felt alive. And then a voice came through the speaker. It was a chorus of whispers, but one stood out. Come with us, it said softly. It sounded like comfort. It sounded like love. It sounded like my grandfather. For a split second, I wanted to. I wanted to step into that other midnight, to understand the bargain. I closed my eyes. No, I said, speaking to the recorder, to the night, to whatever was listening. Not this time. You've already decided. The voice whispered back, a hint of sadness in its tone. I have, I answered. I turned my back on the center of the bridge and walked away. Behind me, I heard a desperate cry cut through the wind. Nico! It was a young girl's voice, the same one from the beginning of the tape. But I didn't look back. I just kept walking. When I got home, the recorder clicked off on its own. The little red light died. I pressed play one last time. For the first time, the tape was completely, utterly quiet. No hiss, no static, no voices. My hand was still shaking as I picked up my phone and called my mother. She answered, her voice thick with sleep. Mom, I said, I found one of Nano's old tapes. Oh? She said, what's on it? I took a breath. You, I said. And him. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Finally, she spoke, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. He never talked about that night, not once, maybe. Maybe now he can rest. The next morning, I took the box and the recorder over to her house. We sat at her kitchen table, the morning sun streaming in, and we played the tape together. This time, it was just the sounds of a Halloween night from long ago. Crickets, distant laughter, the rustle of leaves. When it ended, my mother had a faint, sad smile on her face. Do you think the night will ever come back like that? She asked. No, I said. looking at the silent tape recorder. I think some stories just end when someone finally listens. Later, we walked down to the old iron bridge. The river flowed underneath, steady and sure, like time had finally been repaired. Carved into the wooden rail, almost worn away, were two initials inside a heart. They weren't ours, but it didn't matter. My mother looked out over the water. "Do you feel different?" she whispered. I thought about the voices, the bargain, the choice I'd made on that bridge. "Yes," I said. "I feel finished." That night, I put the recorder back in its dusty box and placed it on the highest shelf in my closet. When midnight came, I held my breath, but nothing happened. The clocks kept ticking. The lights stayed on. The city slept peacefully around me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like even the ghosts were sleeping, too. They say every city has a night it never forgets, and maybe that's true. But when that long night finally ends, it leaves behind a morning that remembers things a little better. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you enjoy tales like this, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps more than you know. Stay safe and stay curious.